We're the Dillinger Escape Plan.
You're watching
ChaosTv.
With releasing of your latest album, Operation Paralysis, you have also started your own band. It's cooperating with the French Season of Mist, if I remember correctly. So this question might not be very popular and maybe a bit risky, because on one hand, I perfectly understand that your own label, your own ground gives you more of, let's say, artistic freedom, in big quotes, you know, and all this other stuff. But my question is that I understand that Relapse Records was not the tightest and worst company in the world. So what puzzles me is that on one hand, okay, artistic freedom, but on the other hand, it's obviously a more difficult task. You know, you are responsible for more things. You know, the company is not doing stuff. So what was behind your decision?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the deal we had with Seasons of Mist was pretty traditional. It was pretty much treated like a traditional label deal.
All right.
Really, the only difference is, like you said, we did have our imprint, Party Smasher, involvement on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then because we were coming into the situation new with the experience that we've had, we had a lot more of say and control over how things were done on a marketing and artistic standpoint. So that was more freedom. But as far as, like, it wasn't like we were really they were providing the staff and providing all the distribution and all that stuff that is difficult, the parts that wouldn't come, that we wouldn't have, you know?
Exactly.
So it was more of a situation where it was like, okay, we respect where you've come from and what you've done, and we will kind of accept that you really know what's best for you, and we accept that there's things they know that we don't know, and it was really more of a collaboration in that way. So it was really a perfect situation, and the Party Smasher imprint on it, they would say, well, if it's not really like your own label exactly, why would you have that in addition?
It's not like Neurot recordings from
right.
Neurosis, right?
I mean, the reason for that is so that we can continue to put our brand on everything we do. In the future, the industry's changing so drastically.
Oh, yeah.
And every day there's a new way to put out a record or to release your music or to give your music out. And we really can't predict what's going to happen. We just know that we want to have the freedom to adapt with those things. So the Party Smasher imprint is a way for us to no matter how we do it, whether it's a label or whether it's a digital thing or whether it's just, you know, whatever it may be, is it brings it all under that umbrella.
I understand.
Makes it all tie together and makes sense. So it's a way to focus everything we're doing, regardless of if the structure underneath changes.
Okay, great. And this naturally leads me to a question: what is Dillinger cooking for us for the nearest future?
We just heard and smelled one thing.
I mean, obviously, it's a question you
I mean, we have a lot more touring to do for this record. I mean, we're about the halfway point, I'd say, like the 50% of the way through this touring cycle. We've got another 6 weeks.
But now it will be only warmer countries, right?
What's that? Yeah.
Now,
well, we're gonna go south. Yeah, we got to go to Spain and Italy and stuff like that. So
good
we
idea.
Got another 6 weeks of this, and then we got to come back and go to Russia. That's probably gonna be pretty cold.
Yeah.
But
you can expect that. I'm sure.
Yeah, and then we have to go, you know, do some of the rest of the world, wrap that up, and I mean, we're kind of just now starting to talk about what we're going to do as far as like another release. We've got so many options because we're completely contractually free. That was one of the great things about the Seasons of Mist deal, is that it was a one-time deal, and we can choose to work with them in the future. We can choose to work with someone else. We could choose to put something out our own. We could do EPs. We could do a full length. We could just do so many numerous things now that there's, you know, it's exciting.
Fireworks, your previous album, has been a critical and commercial success, with the album being on many critics' top 10 lists, making it the band's most critically successful album. And now it's the important fact. The Dillinger Escape Plan should be careful, or they'll end up being the Radiohead of metalcore. So, what do you think about? I mean, this is a bit out of place. I know. So, you know, that's my question. How do you stand when you hear such things?
There's a few bands out there that have really figured out how to take control over their art and their music, and really it seems like it's pretty hard to know what to do, and there's really no right way of doing things in this climate of the music business. But there's a couple bands, one of which we were associated with, as we said, the Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah.
And then the others are bands like Radiohead, who have really taken every aspect of their art and their music and their business under control, and continue to put out music that is artistically credible and free of any influence, outside influence, yet still manage to maintain a certain level of respect and a gigantic fan base.
Obviously.
So they're doing something right. So to be compared to anything like that is just the hugest honor you could ever get. And Radiohead is one of my favorite bands. I actually even have a Radiohead tattoo, which some people would be surprised who are typical just metal Dillinger fans.
Yeah.
But the fact is like I said, they're a band that's been able to constantly evolve, constantly change their sound, and maintain a huge level of success. And that's really, I mean, the ultimate as far as an artist can be, a musician can go. That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, it's the hardest way, but also gives you the most of opportunities. And my very last question is once again directed to Greg, because as a matter of fact, this was a bit of a confusing thing for me, because when I was preparing my research, my initial thought was that you are of Italian roots,
right.
but turns out that you're actually of Polish roots. So
yeah,
could
like
you shed some light on this?
Well, my last name was it's kind of like Polish-Russian, like it was around like the line between like the Ukraine. My family was originally from a place called Slutsk, which was like outside of Minsk, I guess, which is now in the Ukraine, right?
Or Belarus, somewhere like this.
Belarus, yeah. And there's other ones from in Poland. There are people with my last name in Poland for sure. And
yeah, it actually sounds like at least one part of it sounds like a part of a typical Polish name.
I think what happened is when they came to America, the spelling got changed, and there used to be a V at the end of it, I think, and an H where the I is. So it's really annoying. The only time people always think it's Italian, and the only time it works in my favor is if I'm at an Italian restaurant and they see the credit card and they're like, "Oh, Italian," and I'm like, "Yes," and then they give me a dessert for free.
That's awesome.
Or something, you know. But yeah, man, being in Poland is really cool. Yeah, I know for a fact that a lot of my family, you know, was from around the USSR, and that various people that I'm probably somehow related to live in Poland and the Ukraine and in Russia now. So that's pretty exciting for me.
Yeah, this was your first staying.
That was the first
right?
time ever. And one of the big fears about going to a place like Poland or you know, is like you don't know what it's going to be like when you come somewhere new. You could come and there could be 10 people there, you know, and they could flip you off the whole time.
And especially like 20 years ago, it was fucking USSR.
Well, that's
USSR
what.
here.
Coming from you know the West, it makes anything to do with the Soviet Union is such a taboo for us. You know what I mean? So, like,
I can imagine that this is a very exotic.
Right. We associate
part of the world.
We associate any part of anything that used to be associated with the USSR with like shit. We can't go there. You know what I mean? It's gonna be weird. No one's gonna like us. You know, blah blah blah. And then when we came, every time we've come, the shows have been some of the best shows of the whole tour. So I've been looking forward to this Poland show. Probably my top 5 shows on this whole tour that I'm looking forward to. So I'm excited to be here.
Just the people who write to us on like, Facebook or Twitter, like constantly like, oh, I can't wait, and like, I see more. It seems like the places where we would expect the least, hospitality is where we get the